Well, everyone, I finally did it! I finally did the thing that nobody asked for, and I made a custom, unofficial, fan-made Doom tabletop RPG system. I'm pretty proud of it. I've put a lot of work into it. It's something that I've sort of been tinkering with for a while now, actually, since long before Doom 2016 even. I started thinking, hey, what if there was a Doom role-playing game back in, 2012, around the time the BFG edition of Doom 3 came out, actually. So I made my own system, and I have gone a little bit all over the place with it, but I finally figured it out, put it out there, have the whole PDF, the whole rule set. I've got a Google Doc that anyone can go to, anyone can peruse it. It's, this being an unofficial thing, it is very, very, very much free to use, free to disperse. I am collecting zero money on it, and that anyone can do whatever they want with it as long as they don't, charge other people money for it or something like that. So let's just get on to it. So Doom, the tabletop role-playing game right here. Okay, so if I wanted to try to describe this in the simplest way possible, it's basically 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, except for a couple of things. One is that the D20 is replaced by 3d6. That's the core system. That's the combat system, right? Well, combat. It's the system. Anytime you ever want to do a thing, you roll 3d6 and you add stuff to it. The other big takeaway, mechanically, that particularly matters is that PCs get 2 actions per activation, per turn, basically. And they also get 1 bonus action, or it's bonus action, the same thing in 5e. I am considering, after having finished everything and looked through everything and sort of thought about just how many different bonus actions that you can get as a character, I am considering upping that to 2 bonus actions per activation. This is also very much an alpha build, which means that nothing is set in stone, nothing is well, I mean, arguably any version of this is going to be an alpha version because I'm never going to collect money for it. And what is a little bit different is that monsters and NPCs are only going to have 1 action and 1 bonus action per activation. The reason for that is because I wanted this to be sort of in the spirit of Doom, in that it's going to be, only a few select, the PCs, basically, versus, a horde of monsters. So because of that, when a group of imps activate, you've only got 1 action and 1 bonus action to do for each one. It just makes, dispersal of things happening a little bit simpler. I tried to design it to be able to handle a lot of monsters and a lot of enemies all at once. So basically, if the PCs are only going to be up against 1 monster, I haven't written stats for the Cyber Demon yet, which, I don't know, what am I thinking? Why haven't I done that yet? But if it was the PCs against 1 Cyber Demon, they would stomp it, no matter what. One thing that I have learned after playing a lot of Dungeons & Dragons and a lot of games like that is that, traditionally speaking, if the PCs have more actions than the monster, like the boss monster or anything like that, then the PCs are going to win hands down, no matter what. So you've got to find ways to offset that. But yeah, this is designed to be a lot of demons versus the PCs, right? That's very Doom-like. The next thing that I wanted to go over were the attributes. These are your ability scores. In this case, I have Might, Agility, Fortitude, Intellect, and Demeanor. Might speaks for itself. It's Strength. Agility, that's your Dexterity, obviously. Fortitude, Constitution. Intellect, Intelligence. Now, this is where we're differing a little bit from Dungeons & Dragons, and that's that there's no Wisdom stat. It's just not a thing. I basically lump anything that might be Wisdom-based into Intellect. And I also wanted to come up with a way to make the Charisma stat, actually viable, because in a Doom game, why would you be running around as, a bureaucrat? So, changing the word, the very stat to Demeanor, gives itself a very, very sort of, abrasive descriptor. So, your demeanor is how you present yourself. It's not necessarily, how smelly or off-putting you are. It is how you present yourself and who you are as a person. So there are going to be a lot of things that are going to be demeanor-based. Not like a lot, but, you know, there are things that are going to be demeanor-based, and they're not necessarily dependent on how well can you lie to people, or how well can you negotiate with people. It's going to be like, how do you present yourself in a combat situation, or in a hostile situation. That's kind of what I was going for with demeanor. I've got a bunch of, you know, mechanic stuff in here for how to create characters, but that's something that you can get into. By the way, I will be happy to make follow-up videos to this. I would be very happy to address any questions, anything like that, with a follow-up video. This is something that I've got a pretty... I know the ins and outs of pretty much everything here because I, you know, designed all of it. So I just want to skip straight to the classes. Like, these are the things that you can play as in the Doom tabletop role-playing game, and I'm just going to present them in alphabetical order. And the first one is the one that is, well, like, alphabetically first, but also very Doom-like. Love that, their voltage. Not sponsored, just a big fan. And that is the Brutalist. It's the Barbarian. It's the Barbarian class, that's what it is. The point of the Brutalist is to basically specialize in melee combat. Run up to the thing, hit the thing with an axe, move on. Like, you know, just the savage, you know, your Wolverines, all that kind of stuff. Second up is the Demonologist, and this is where we're getting into very much the sort of like Doom lore. By the way, another thing that I will address is that I was writing all of this before Doom Eternal came out. By the way, happy Doom Eternal Day, everybody, because Doom Eternal just came out. So all of the, like, really dense lore in Doom Eternal is not going to be found in this, and there might be some stuff that would have to be, like, changed up, you know, or whatever, because of the meta or the lore that has since been introduced in Doom Eternal. So the Demonologist it's basically a spellcaster. It's a spellcasting class that uses a bunch of demon energy thing, a bunch of demonic ability stuff. One of I would say that the biggest selling point of the Demonologist is that one of their abilities is that they can summon a demon and then control it. That's basically the sort of draw of that. The Engineer speaks for itself. It's the techie. They are a little bit less about combat and more just about tinkering, tricks and traps kind of stuff, messing with robotics and that kind of thing. The Geneticist is one that I like. That is basically a scientist that has concocted a bunch of mutagens. Mutagen? They create a bunch of, like, serums and stuff like that from medikits that give them weird things. Like, one of the things is that they can grow, like, chitin on their bodies, and you know, give them some, like, armor and that kind of thing. Next up is the Gunslinger. The Gunslinger is very much designed to be a gunfighter that specializes in light firearms, so all the pistols and the handguns and that kind of thing. And they've got some weird dexterity-based things and abilities. The Infiltrator, that's your rogue. That's basically all that is. They're really good at stealth. They've got, like, a backstab mechanic. They've got multiple backstab mechanics, I think. The Martial Artist, not really anything to explain there. It's somebody who is another melee fighter, but specializes in unarmed combat and, you know, agility and intellect and training. The Roughneck is, I don't know how to describe the Roughneck, but what basically any sort of, like, character from The Walking Dead. That is to say, any sort of, like, you know, like, when I was trying to come up with a name for the class, initially I was like, the Redneck? They're just rednecks, right? Because they're basically just built on, you know, my daddy taught me how to hunt with a shotgun, and he told me how to survive in the wilderness all by his lonesome. That's basically the Roughneck. I mean, not necessarily exclusively that, but also just very, you know, very, like, dodgy, sort of gruff and gritty sort of characteristics and abilities. Like, examples of Roughnecks would be, like, Jane from Firefly, Jane Cobb. Sniper, again, speaks for itself. You're real good at shooting stuff. And the soldier. The soldier is, again, speaks for itself. Basically, it's the soldier. I specifically modeled the soldier after the like mechanics of Doom itself. I told myself this wasn't going to be like a tutorial video for learning how to play the game. I just wanted to give the ins and outs. But I wanted to streamline ability scores a little bit. I wanted to streamline attributes. Like, let's go back up to attributes here. Rather than saying you have a particular score and then you get a modifier based off of that. For example, in Dungeons and Dragons, no matter what system, well, at least whether you're looking at 3.5 or 5e or Pathfinder or anything like that, a 15 strength is a +2 modifier, which means you add +2 to melee attack rolls, for example. And you do +2 damage on your melee attack rolls. And you get a +2 bonus for athletic skill checks and that kind of thing, right? Like, I understand where they get, and it's a separate thing, where I understand where they're getting, like, modifiers from, but I figured I just wanted to clean that up a little bit. I just wanted to make this particular aspect a little bit easier to understand for folks who might be new to RPGs or anything like that. So, each of your scores are a number, and that's the number that you add to the thing that you're doing. For example, if you have a might of 4, then you add +4 to your melee attacks. Easy as that. Another big thing is that you can't have attributes higher than 6, and the reason for that is just because, you know, you're human and you don't want to get, like, too overpowered. And there's a whole system here for, you know, determining your attributes. You can do a point by system, or you can just say take one of these, like, 5 predetermined any of these 5 predetermined attribute sets right here. You know, you could just say, whatever, or you could just, like, roll some stats. You know, it's whatever you want to do as the game master. That's pretty much it. And then, you know, attributes are going to be used for skills, which skills are basically the same as they are in 3.5, sort of. I liked the idea. One of the things that I don't like about 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons is that you don't get, like, really good at skills. You just get, like, kind of good at them. Because the only difference between being good at a skill or not being good at a skill is whether or not you've got your proficiency bonus added to it. And also, like, post first level, it's kind of hard, actually, to get proficiency in, like, specific skills, apart from taking, like, feats, which are meant to be an optional rule, right? So I wanted to bring back the sort of idea or concept of ranks from D&D 3.5 and Pathfinder 1st edition. Sort of, at least. You can spend a skill point, basically. You get 2 skill points per level. Why don't I just address, like, the specifics of, like, making your character and leveling up, and that's that for every level that you take in a particular class, you get an ability from a list of that class. For example, we're looking at the Brutalist abilities here, the Brutalist class abilities. When you gain a level in Brutalist, you can take Beatdown, which gives you an extra, like, melee attack per activation. Or you can take Heavy Duty, which makes you better at, you know, using armor and that kind of thing. You know, that's easy as that. You take a level, you choose from the list of things. Oh, by the way, I just used, like, pictures of, like, really crudely painted miniatures that I have. So forgive me for that. I just wanted to have, like, some illustrations in this document, even if they are hideous. Anyway, so each level you gain an ability. Each level you also gain 2 skill points. The way that skills work are pretty straightforward. Why don't we go ahead and go to that section? Actually, so, Google Docs. They make this thing on the side here pretty simple. So, skills. You get 2 skill points per level, and you can either spend 1 skill point on 1 skill to become trained in it. And being trained in a particular skill is super duper simple. All you do is add an extra d6 to your roll. That's it. So if you want to say that you become trained in acrobatics, for example, instead of rolling 3d6, you're going to roll 4d6. Easy as that. You're still going to add your agility to it. There are going to be, like, I'll get to talents in a minute here too. Those are basically feats. I'll get to those in a minute. But that's pretty much it. And then skill mastery is another thing that you can get, which is that you can get you can spend 2 skill points on a skill that you're already trained in to add another d6 to that roll. So if you are mastered in acrobatics, you can add 5d6. You roll 5d6 and add your agility to that skill roll. And yeah, I just wanted a level of like getting better at skills a little bit as you level up. And I think that this system is going to be easy enough, accessible enough for folks to get it after reading it, without being too, without being too just like dirt simple, which is what I think the proficiency bonus in 5e is. I think that it's just a little bit too simplified. This is a little bit more elegant, a little bit more in-depth, but it's not too complex, I don't think. So then I can move on to talents. Talents are another thing that I'm sort of debating whether or not I want to change this or not, because when I started, I made a bunch of like mock characters, basically, just as sort of a practice. I was like, why don't I just make a bunch of characters? Like, I printed off a bunch of character sheets. By the way, I've got a handy image at the bottom of the document here that is just of a character sheet. You can use it. A very, very simple design. Like, I spent a lot of time on it, but I also acknowledge that it's imperfect. When we get to talents, they're basically feats. They're feats that are functionally similar to the feats that are used in D&D 3.5 and Pathfinder 1st Edition. I don't have a lot of them. I am open to suggestions to people if they want to comment or tweet at me or whatever and be like, hey, I have an idea for this thing. What do you think? And I'd be like, oh, that's a good idea. I can include that in. Because of that, they're not, like, great. You know, one of the things that I do admittedly like about 5th edition D&D is that feats are really good, but by also only getting them, like, every 4 levels and having to take them in place of an ability score boost is, like... Anyway, so I wanted to re-implement, like, you know, talents. They're basically feats. They're just ways of your character, like, getting better at stuff that is separate from the class levels that you take. And because of that, like, as I was making them, I realized that some of them are good, some of them, well, I mean, like, I think that they're all, like, pretty decent in a way. I'm thinking about changing up one, like, the one I think that I've got called Trigger Happy, which is just a +2 bonus to activation rolls. They're basically initiative rolls. I'm considering making that +4, similar to Improved Initiative from 3.5 and Pathfinder 1st Edition. You know, it's all stuff that we could tweak. But as I was making a bunch of mock characters, I realized that if you wanted to get characters that were like I made a soldier, for example, who became really, really good at using a plasma rifle and, like, was kind of good at other things, but was really only, like, great at using the plasma rifle. And that's because I've got it set up right now to where you only get talents every 2 levels, similar to Pathfinder first edition. You get a talent at 1st level, and then again at 3rd, and again at 5th, 7th, 9th, etc., etc. And I'm considering changing this to just like you get 1 talent per level, the same way that you get 1 class ability per level. I don't know. We'll see. I'm open to suggestions. I encourage anybody to play test this with your friends, disperse it however you want, give me whatever kind of feedback you want. I would love to hear it. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. So we'll get to the mechanics of, like, weapons and stuff. Starting off with melee weapons, I like the idea of being able to use a lot of different weapons. You know, basically whatever you can find in the environment. And in some ways, I really like systems like basically every single D&D game where every single type of weapon has its own, like, stat block. So, you know, it's this kind of thing of, like, there are differences, but, like, some of them just seem unnecessary, and some of them just render certain weapons to be completely useless compared to other weapons. Right? So I wanted to sort of simplify things and just have basically types of melee weapons and that kind of thing. So basically, everything is derived into either a melee weapon or a tool, and they are either light, medium, or heavy. That's pretty much it. Oh, and then there are power tools, but we'll get to that in a minute. And then each thing has its own sort of slot. And a lot of this is just going to be a little bit more sort of like whatever your GM is okay with. Like, for example, in the world of Doom, if there are assault rifles and plasma guns and, you know, like fancy grenades and power armor just everywhere, it's like, shouldn't be too tough to get, like, you know, a combat knife. You don't think that would be terribly difficult, right? So I don't even have, like, a cost when it comes to the tools or weapons. That's something that if you want to change as a GM, you know, whatever, however you want to do it. But then, yeah, so, like, light tools deal 1 damage, plus your strength, plus your might, right? And yeah, I just wanted this to be a really, like, straightforward thing. You're just gonna be like, okay, well, I'll, you're in, like, a laboratory or a workshop or something like that, you're unarmed, but then, like, some dude takes a swing at you, you can pick up a screwdriver to the side and attack with that, and that would be considered a light tool, so you deal, like, you know, 1 plus might in damage. You know, if you wanted to, like, pick up a hammer or something like that, that would be medium tool, so it would do 1d3 plus your might worth of damage. And then there are different things that are associated with those things, you know, like light tools and light melee weapons. You can add your agility instead of your might for damage, and with the heavy weapons, you add, like, 1.5 times your might. That's one thing that I liked about Pathfinder First Edition and D&D 3.5, which was that when you wielded a weapon in 2 hands, you added 1.5 your might to your damage roll. It was just a really, really cool way, and that's something that I don't like about 5th Edition D&D, which is that, like, okay, I'm going to be wielding, like, a longsword, and, you know, it's like D8 plus your strength modifier, and you're like, okay, cool, and then, like, if you wield it in 2 hands, you would think that you would be a lot more powerful at it, but, like, no, it just changes to, like, a D10 or something. You know what I mean? And it's like, on average, your damage goes up, like, 1. It's not really that worth it. So I really liked the mechanic of 1.5 times your might. So I reintroduced that with heavy weapons. When it comes to the power tools, you know, I was kind of thinking in my head, okay, how do I want to handle this? Do I want to make it so that you know, you have to measure, like, fuel? You know, do you have to measure gasoline, or do you have to measure some sort of, like, battery power or something like that? And I kind of thought, like, you know what? No. Why don't we just go ahead and go with you know, good old classic vanilla Doom and Doom 3, where it's just like, you whip out a chainsaw and just and you can just do that all that you want. Cool. It's basically just another resource that you don't need to keep track of, because you do want to streamline things a little bit when it comes to designing tabletop role-playing games. And the thing about power tools is that they do a lot of base damage. Let me see if I can find them here. So, like, a heavy power tool deals 4d6 damage, which is pretty awesome. The only thing is that you can't add your might to the rolls, because you're basically, like, you can't, like, push harder with a chainsaw and deal more damage. It's a chainsaw. Well, I mean, like, you probably can, but you understand what I'm saying. It's just a mechanical thing to, like, weigh the difference of. So if you want, you could wield, like, a heavy melee weapon, which is a d6 plus, like, 1.5 your might, and if your might is maxed out at, like, 6, for example, then you're dealing 1d6 plus 9 damage. That's pretty solid, really consistent, whereas if you want to take the heavy power tool, you're gonna do, on average, 4d6, what's the average of 4d6? It's like 14, right? So, yeah, like, on average, you're kind of on the same track as somebody who's, like, really, really, really strong just using a fire axe or something like that. But, you know, I also have no credit costs for the power tools at all, so, you know, it's just another thing. And also, like, not everybody is proficient with it. One thing that I want to address with proficiencies when it comes to classes and all that, really, really straightforward. If you are proficient with a weapon, then you attack with it normally. If you are not proficient with a weapon, instead of rolling d6s, you roll d4s. Simple as that, right? So if you're attacking, you know, normal things, normal qualifiers and all that, and you're attacking, you know, with a power tool, you're rolling 3d6 damage if you're proficient with it, or 3d6 plus your, you know, modifiers for the attack roll. And if you're not proficient with it, you roll 3d4 plus your modifiers, and it's as simple as that. And then we get to firearms. Every firearm uses one of the 4 different ammo types. That's one of the things that I liked about Doom, is that it's easy to keep track of. You know, when I was designing it, I was kind of thinking like, okay, well, you know, the ammo that you're gonna, you know, I was first even thinking like, okay, do I want to have different types of handguns? Do I want to have like, you know, a 22 caliber pistol, or like a 9mm pistol, and a Desert Eagle, and a 44 Magnum, and a 38 revolver? Like, do I want to have all of these things? And I just thought, you know what? No. Especially too, like if I started thinking of things like that, then you have to have different types of ammunition for each one, and it's just kind of like, no. So basically, every single gun uses either bullets, cells, rockets, or shells, which I would love for somebody to write a song about at some point. I think that it would be beautiful. Anyway, bullets, cells, rockets, shells. And different weapons. I sort of went the Doom 2016 route, which is that, like, it's very, very simple. Like, there's the EMG Mark V pistol. That's basically the laser pistol that you have in Doom 2016. And then you've just got a heavy pistol that's just... That's your Desert Eagle. That's your handgun. It doesn't really matter. Like, and you know, all that. That heavy pistol uses the same ammunition as, like, you know, the heavy assault rifle or the chain gun. Like, whatever, right? Tell you what. Before we start getting into the ins and outs and the mechanics of the guns and all that, I realize that I've been recording now for like 30 or 40 minutes, and this is probably a lot of video. I'm going to edit out a lot of it, but it's still a lot of video. I'm excited to talk about this more, so I will do this again here shortly. And besides, I'm in quarantine right now. Like, I'm recording this during the, you know, the COVID-19 outbreak, so I'm just kind of like, bah! And that's why I look like a hobo right now. So I will record another video here shortly and get a little bit more into this. A couple other things that I wanted to just address with the channel real quick. I'm not going to be doing as much of the miniature painting because I actually started up a new channel called Easy Mini Painting. I don't have a link for that just yet because I don't have enough subscribers to get a custom URL. But I will put the link to that channel in the description for this video below. And for that one, I am declaring right now, and I've been doing it, I'm declaring that I am posting a new video every week. Every Sunday, typically in the evening, like 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, a new video. I'm redoing all of the Doom board game. I'm actually almost finished with it. I just edited the Barons of Hell, and that will be going up this Sunday, which, depending on when this video gets posted, I don't even... Anyway, so I've done that, and then I need to do the Cyber Demon, and then that's it. One of the things that I was wanting to do differently about those compared to the videos on this channel is that when I did like a particular miniature from the Doom board game, I did all of them. So like I did all of the imps all at once in one video. I did all of the possessed soldiers all at once in one video. I did all of the Marines all at once in one video. And that's kind of the format that I want to do for future videos on that channel. And yeah, I'll be posting a new one every single week. Now, this channel is not going anywhere. I'm still keeping it. I'm still pretty proud of everything that I've got on it. I've still got a lot of Mansions of Madness, and I still have those Reaper Doom miniatures to paint. And I figured that what I would basically do is anytime somebody requests something to be painted, then I will paint it on this channel for that. Because I don't get a lot of requests. I get them occasionally, and pretty much anytime people do request things, I'll post a video about it. So if you want to see something specific from like Mansions of Madness or the Reaper Doom miniatures or anything like that, just, you know, let me know in some way. You can do it in the form of a comment on any video. I think YouTube has just straight up not notified me when I've received comments before, which is kind of annoying. Like, I'll just like sort of be perusing in my own videos, and I'll be like, wait, what? When did that person ask that question? This was like 4 months ago. How did I not respond? Like, I don't even remember reading that question. I don't think I ever got a notification about it. So I will try if somebody wants to request things either on the YouTube channel here or on my Twitter page. I am on Twitter at Paintamini is my username. I'm also on Instagram now. I just got an Instagram account. I will say, like, Twitter is going to be more where I'm just myself. You know, I'm just going to be posting random things. Like, I'll do some miniature painting stuff. Yeah, that. Instagram is where I will be doing more just like regular miniature stuff. Like, pretty much everything that I will be painting on Instagram will be exclusively miniature painting things. So anyway, that. what else? Yeah, I've addressed that I've got the new channel. Gonna be kind of slowing things down on this channel, which you could probably tell because I don't post things on this channel very often anymore. Oh, I need to make I keep thinking about this. I need to make a follow-up to the How to Play Doom the board game videos on my channel, because there are some discrepancies and things like that, like some clarifications and corrections that I need to address. And I just haven't gotten around to doing that because a video like that will take time to edit, and I'm lazy. Well, like, I'm not lazy. I work full-time. You know, I have a full-time job. Everything that I do for YouTube is all just, like, side stuff. It's all just for fun, basically. You know, designing this tabletop Doom game was something that I just did, like, in my free time over the last, like, year and a half, 2 years or something. So, it's like... I'm very scatterbrained, I guess. I'm not going to take up any more of your time, though. Yeah, like I said, I'm excited to tell you more about this Doom tabletop game, so I will definitely make another video about this here soon. I'll start talking about how firearms work and how the actual combat mechanics work and that kind of thing, so we'll go from there. So, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time on whatever other video I do, but did, all that. Hell, I don't know.